Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode two. To start off with, last time we had talked about what is swing music, and how does an orchestra swing. So today we're going to start our journey through some incredible composers who are connected to swing music. Now, if I had created the Orchestra Swings program, there's a very specific composer I would have talked about first. And in fact, this composer doesn't get mentioned at all, so I'm very excited to have a chance to tell you about Scott Joplin. Scott Joplin is this incredible American composer. He was born in 1868 and lived until 1917. And Scott Joplin is often called the king of ragtime. And why does that matter? Well, before swing, if you're wondering, well, what came before swing or what influenced swing, it was a style of music called ragtime. And ragtime, it was called ragtime because of these ragged rhythms that would kind of jut in and out of the texture, creating kind of the foundation for what would eventually become kind of more standard jazz music. Scott Joplin, though, he was the greatest composer of ragtime. Everyone knew it. And he wrote over 100 of these amazing rags that I myself love to play. And so I thought I'd give you a little bit of a taste of some of his music. You may have heard or even played some of his more famous pieces like Maple Leaf Rag. But here's one of my favorite pieces, and maybe you'll enjoy hearing this. Such beautiful music, and he wrote all these pieces for piano, being a wonderful pianist himself. However, and it's one of the really important things to realize when you think about all these composers who are part of this program, for all the great musicians in history, there was no, like, they never felt like they had to stay in one lane of a type of music, right? So you didn't only compose jazz or only compose classical music or only write for orchestras or only do rock and roll music. I mean, all the great musicians have always kind of moved around. And in fact, at the very end of this series, we're going to meet two of my really good friends who are amazing composers working today, who also defy the boundaries of what is orchestra music, what is jazz. And I think you'll really enjoy getting to know their music. But even back then, for someone like Scott Joplin, yes, he composed rags, but he composed operas. He wanted to write for orchestras. And one of the reasons why I try to promote his music as much as possible is during his own lifetime, no one took him seriously enough. They thought, oh, he's just the guy who plays the piano and plays these little short rags. But in fact, Scott Joplin was a very serious composer, and he desperately, throughout his life, wanted to be taken seriously as a symphonic composer, as a composer who would write big works, and never really was given the opportunities he should have. But even so, even in the small pieces, they are some of the most beautiful works, I think, in all the repertoire. So be sure to check out some more of Scott Joplin's music. The most famous pieces are The Entertainer and The Maple Leaf Rag. Now, the other reason I wanted to start talking about Scott Joplin first is ragtime is what heavily influenced and really became swing music, but also was a part of the childhood of Duke Ellington. And I'm sure you've been hearing about Duke Ellington because he's one of the composers that is definitely featured on the Orchestra Swings with his pieces Duke's Place, and It Don't Mean a Thing. He is also, one of my very favorite composers and had an amazing career. I mean, he had this swing band that was together for over 50 years. And I'm sure you've enjoyed getting to know his pieces. It's just such great fun. What I thought I'd show you today, in case you haven't seen it, is Duke Ellington actually playing himself and get a sense for how he plays the piano. And so here's a clip of him playing. I think he's about 70 years old when he's playing here. So I hope you enjoy this. Ah, so great, isn't it? You can't talk about swing and you can't talk about jazz without Duke Ellington because he was a part of the beginning and in its heyday and kept it going all these years as kind of the center figure of the style of music. But remember, when he was a teenager, he was sneaking into clubs to listen to the great pianists of his day. And what were they playing? They were playing rags, the music of Scott Joplin. So hope you enjoyed getting to know these two incredible composers. I'm sure you're loving playing Duke's Place and It Don't Mean a Thing. Hope we'll have a chance at some point to do that all together in the concert hall with the orchestra. But on to the next. On the next episode, we'll take a look at two of the great American composers for orchestras, George Gershwin and Leonard Bernstein.